There we go.
There we go. All right. We are officially live.
Hello, bookies.
Hello,
Hey, Booksy.
everybody.
Hello.
So, hello, BookTube. If you don't, I can't see the comments. I don't know why. If you don't already know the lovely people who are with us today, we have Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse. We have Andre from Fro's House. Say hi, Andre. We have Steve from Steve Donoghue channel.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Mindy from Mindy's Book Journey.
Hello.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So what we're going to discuss? What we're doing this New World's November thing. We have unofficially announced it. I guess this is kind of an official thing. To go ahead and say that we are going to do this, the New World's November. It's going to be a month-long event where we read science fiction, mostly short works. Well, actually, all short works is what I think we're all doing. Anything 250 pages and under. We have, I believe, 13 hosts, including us. 12 or 13 hosts, including us. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm expecting there to be a bunch of buddy reads and a lot of maybe run into Barnes and Noble to pick up the latest analog and Asimovs. So I'm expecting some of that. I know I'm going to do that myself because I canceled my digital subscription because I get them and you can't navigate the thing. You have to turn every page to get to where you want to go. It is not worth it. Have you tried it, Steve?
I have. It's shocking. It's shocking that Asimov's and Analog, that are magazines devoted to science fiction, should have less navigable digital versions than Martha Stewart Cooking. Martha Stewart Cooking, you can zing article to article and back. And on the science fiction websites, no.
Just the user interface sucks.
It's terrible.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's practically a PDF.
It's practically a PDF. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It has so many technical problems. I kept one of the first. I only tried it one time, and I was reminded of that old Star Trek episode where the computers had been improperly overhauled. I kept expecting the Asimov website to say "working, dear."
Yeah.
That's ironic.
It is.
It is.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little cheaper. It's like $6 a month to do it, or $6 an episode. Jesus.
Issue?
$6 an issue to instead of 8 or 10. But at the same time, to me, it's not worth it if I can't navigate. So I would recommend actually either subscribing to those or going and getting them at your bookstore. I mean, for me, reading science fiction, for some reason, I know you're talking about. I don't know. It's kind of strange, but I like to read science fiction in paper form, especially classic science fiction. Newer science fiction, maybe not.
I think that's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, who all reads ebooks here? I think every one of us do. Well, except for Noah, right? Yeah, I think Noah reads mostly physical.
All physical. It's very rare that I read anything digitally. I have a lot, but I just don't make time for it. I haven't got into a habit of it.
Okay. Andre, what about you? I know Christine said she likes the physical books, or she likes ebooks, but I don't know how you do it. Can't hear you, Andre. I think, are you muted?
No, he doesn't have the mute button next to his name.
I just assumed if anybody in this conversation was going to get muted, it was going to be me.
The day is still young.
The day is still young. I'm probably StreamYard has an automated feature that pops up periodically saying, "Would you like to mute Steve?" It's probably part of the software. Would you like to mute Steve?
Should be one of the default buttons.
Yes.
Still can't hear you, Andre, if you're talking. I don't know what the deal might be. Maybe go out and come back in and see if it'll pick it up. Yeah, I don't know what causes that. Man, technology.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
It's technology.
So everybody here is pretty well an avid sci-fi reader, except for Becky. Becky doesn't read a whole lot.
I don't read a whole lot, but I actually have a pretty good list.
Yeah.
I was proud of myself.
Nice.
And I think you and Mindy's list will kind of overlap a little bit too, because I've seen some of the things Mindy put on Goodreads, and it's going to be pretty close, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's cool. So, what is everyone's favorite science fiction author? We'll start with Noah.
It's so hard to pick a favorite science fiction author. Let me tell you, it would be between Philip K. Dick or maybe Heinlein.
Okay.
No
Okay.
kidding. Wow.
There's so many great books, great ideas. I'm more of into big idea sci-fi, but ones that are kind of don't have that many books or don't have that much stuff that I've got into myself. They can't compete with somebody like that I've read a lot of that has blown my mind time and time again.
What have you liked from Heinlein more than anything else?
Well, the first kind of Heinlein that I got in contact with was short stories, and I don't really remember the title of the short story collection. I think it was a name of a person in the title, but in that short story collection was a short story where somebody was. They believed they were kind of crazy that their world was being changed and constructed around them. And as it turns out, they were in a kind of a Truman Show situation where their world was being changed and constructed around them, and they were catching wind of this thing. But it predated so much technology that we have that the controller, whether it be God or whether it be some kind of extraterrestrial race or even just an advanced human race that was doing this thing, was characterized as artists that were painting a scene, rather than what we would, it would be a simulated reality, virtual reality, something like that. But he wrote this thing in like the 40s. So it was something that his way of illustrating this idea was something that was, an artist with their paintbrush and stuff, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Do you generally like his short stories more than his novels?
I don't think that I like his short stories more than his novels, no, but that was the first time that it kind of blew my mind. My favorite stuff is the Methuselah's Children, Time Enough for Love, that series, Lazarus Long, these, because it spans so much time, and in a book like Time Enough for Love, Heinlein can be really long-winded. You know what I mean? Like
that's why I asked. He can be really long-winded, and he's not good with characters.
Right.
He's great with ideas. And that works better in a short form. So that's why I asked. Maybe, like, for instance, the Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Yeah.
The story, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, I love.
Yeah.
More than any of the novels, even The Stranger in a Strange Land. I just think after a while, you can spot the exact moment in the page count where Heinlein runs out of being Heinlein. And you just want to tell him, all right, you can stop now. With novels, you can't do that.
That's a great book, y'all.
Yeah.
Moon is a Harsh Mistress is great.
Andre, did you get it fixed?
I believe so. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Andre, hey, brother.
Hey.
All right, so we want to go around the clock and
Yeah.
Mindy, who's your favorite sci-fi author?
Well, I would not call myself an avid sci-fi reader yet. I've read a couple things from a whole bunch of authors, but my favorite so far is Octavia Butler, and
Oh,
everything I read
beautiful
from her,
copy. Look at that. That's lovely.
I write her down.
I love.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially this series right here.
Yeah, she is one I have not picked up yet. For some reason, I've got a couple of her books, and I just got to get into them before November. There's a lot of authors I'm trying to get to before November, and she's one of them.
Yeah, you got to read her. Yeah, so far it's this. Let's see.
Can the rest of you see the comments? Can everybody see the comments?
I can't.
Your fan club has signed in. I don't
Jay
know. I had a fan
Hi, everybody.
I have an enemy club. It's just not the same.
Very cool.
So Dawn by Octavia Butler. That's my favorite so far.
Okay.
It's great. It has aliens and the world kind of coming to an end, and it covers a lot of social issues in a really interesting way. And yeah, I just love that book.
Okay. Interesting. That's one. That's an author I still need to get to.
I've never heard of her. I've written her down though.
Yeah. Next one.
All right, Steve. We know
What,
you have
yes?
an opinion on this.
I don't know. I'm kind of shy.
Who's your favorite sci-fi author? Come on, Steve.
Sci-fi author, please.
It's awful
Favorite
tough.
of all time.
Favorite of all time. If I have to, it's awful tough. It comes down to two, one of whom I knew personally and one of whom I never met. And it comes down to Ursula Le Guin or James Tiptree, and I think I have to give it to James Tiptree. Which feels terrible to do because, three of Ursula Le Guin's novels are recognized as towering classics.
Yeah.
If we're talking personal favorites, just the person who hits the right notes for me over and over again is probably James Tiptree.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, that is an author. I have a couple of her books. And by the way, if you don't know, James Tiptree Jr. is a woman. She wrote under the pseudonym,
and was outed in the most spectacular way possible. The story is virtually the stuff of fiction.
Yes.
Where at a science fiction award ceremony the year before, the speaker, a well-established science fiction author, got up and said, "We don't know who Tiptree is. I've even heard it theorized that Tiptree is a woman. No woman could write the men in these stories."
Nice.
And then the next year, the spotlight went out on the crowd, and this little white-haired lady from Washington suburbs stood up and said, "Yeah, I'm James Tiptree." It was just awesome.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, she has a tragic story too to the end of her life and everything, but
yeah, I wish she was still here.
Yeah. But,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing to think, it's amazing to think of an 81-year-old James Tiptree still writing novels. It's just an amazing thing to think of. It's just, it makes you think about just the section of the science fiction and fantasy graveyard that is set aside for people who took their own lives. And it's a huge section of that cemetery. I don't even like to think about it. And yet, the handful of science fiction and fantasy authors in the last 150 years that I wish were in that section died peacefully in their bed, surrounded by relatives who they were dispossessing in their will.
So what's
your
favorite book by her?
What's that?
Your favorite book by her, Steve?
Short story or novel? I mean, she has a large collection of short stories. And those are hit or miss, but I think, again, like I would say with Heinlein, short stories I think are where she's better.
Okay.
But she wrote, there are two main novels, Up the Walls of the World and Brightness Falls from the Air, and Up the Walls of the World is the one that I just deeply love. It's a very simple book, but I deeply love it.
Okay. Yeah, I think simplicity, from what I've read, from what I love, simplicity in classic science fiction is a strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, classics. Well, any kind of science fiction, the simplest stories come from asking what if. You know,
Right.
like Ursula Le Guin, for instance. If
Right.
you sit down at your kitchen table and you say, what if a mental patient's dreams actually change reality?
Right.
That's a very simple
Yeah.
question to ask. What if your dreams actually do change reality?
And what an awesome story built out of that.
What an awesome story. Yes,
Yeah. You know, it was a short book, but it was that was one of the easier science fiction reads I've ever had because I didn't have to work at all for that story.
Oh, yeah.
It was straightforward, but at the same time, it had a lot to say, and I loved it. I mean, that's in my top 5 sci-fi books of all time, probably.
Yeah, her delivery's on point.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you seen either of the adaptations?
Have not.
Not either one.
Neither one.
They're like 40 years apart. You think that you couldn't have that with science fiction special effects. But the special effects in the one 40 years ago are just fine. They're absolutely just fine. They do a perfect job. The weirdest special effect in the old BBC adaptation of The Relay of Heaven is how young Bruce Davison is. You feel like you're looking at a science fiction special effect because he's like a teenager. You're really good. But very, very young.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you, Brandy. It's just not very talkative people today. It's because we're all fascinating. I know that's why.
Yeah.
They're just staring in wrath.
Andre, who is your favorite science fiction author, and what is your favorite work by them?
I don't really have a favorite. Science fiction is one of those few that I don't really read a lot of the same authors. I just pick books or ideas that I like. So I've read like 1 or 2 Herbert. I've read 1 or 2 Heinlein. Heinlein's one of the few that I've read more than like 2 of. But if I had to pick a favorite from the ones, I'd probably say like H.G. Wells, just because they're like the timeless stories. Though my favorite science fiction books aren't from those. They would be like Solace by Intencio or Armor by Steakley are my 2 favorites. By H.G. Wells, The Time Machine is probably my favorite from him.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I do like The Time Machine.
There she is.
I remember reading The Time Machine for the first time when I was probably 12 or 13, and I loved it. You know,
It's a great book.
I read it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's great, for sure.
When I was 12 or 13, I remember hearing the story of The Time Machine from H.G. Wells. He was thinking about writing it.
Told you around the campfire one night.
He was asking, do you think there's any future in this science fantasy genre? It's like, you never know. You never know. It certainly won't be pirate stories.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So, you want to go next?
Don't make me go next.
All right, you go last.
I don't want to go. I feel like I'm in college again. When everybody's like saying their favorite books and they're naming all these classic authors, and I'm like, I don't want to go. I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so my favorite sci-fi author is Andy Weir.
Nice.
He wrote The Martian, he wrote Artemis, and Project Hail Mary, and I adore all 3 books. And honestly, I think it's mostly because I actually understand them. I remember I read The Foundation by
Asimov.
Thank you, by Asimov, and whereas I mostly understood it, there were large swatches of that book where I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm enjoying it. And but with Andy Weir, he makes the science very accessible. And he's gonna be on my list for today, actually. But yeah, he
makes the science very accessible. Yes, indeed. There are 2 ways that you can do that. One is good and one is bad. He chooses the bad way, but still, he makes science in his novels very accessible.
Good.
You certainly understand the science in his novels. Let's qualify it that way, because I agree, he's a heck of a storyteller.
Shush you. Yeah, I love Andy Weir. my favorite science fiction author. That's it.
I love him too.
He loves him too. You don't
British
get
science. Would you like to meet Steve?
yeah. For my favorite science fiction author, he didn't write a ton of books, but it's Frank Herbert.
Nice.
Yeah, and Dune is easily my favorite work by him. It's easily my favorite sci-fi novel of all time.
But I mean, he wrote a lot of
What
novels.
a tough crowd. Frank Herbert didn't write a lot of novels. What a tough crowd. What kind of pin-up bar do you have to meet here?
Yeah, there you go, Mindy.
Compared to some, he didn't write all that many that are known now, that are famous now.
Right.
Like, what was the one that the God? I don't remember what it is, but it's part of a series, and that series is not even, a lot of his stuff's not even in print anymore.
Right.
Frank Herbert stuff, but Dune, I adore that book. It is amazing. And
Pretty good for
another
a
thing I
book
love
that doesn't have Timothy Chalamet in it. It's pretty good.
But
I think that all of Dune's, I mean, all of Herbert's stuff is completely overshadowed by what Dune has become. That you don't really.
Happens with so many authors, right?
Right.
It happened with Heinlein.
Right.
If it
Exactly.
hadn't been for with Heinlein, it would have been all Stranger in a Strange Land if it hadn't been for the sheer brilliance of the movie Starship Troopers.
Right. Exactly. That movie is brilliant too.
Unbelievable.
It's so stylish.
Is Steve being sarcastic? Like the pop up on StreamYard.
It's so stylized. It really makes it work.
It's fantastic. And if you are a libertarian thinker who hates fascism, you will think it's the greatest movie of all time. And if you're an alt-right skinhead who loves fascism, you'll think it's the greatest movie of all time. So it covers you perfectly.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, the novel leans a little more right than the movie does, I would say. But I actually prefer I far prefer the movie over the novel on that one. I just was not a big fan of the Starship Troopers novel at all.
Have any of you read The Whipping Star? That's what Brandy asked.
Is that a trick question?
Is this an episode of Has Steve Read It?
No.
I want to say Matt is keeping an eye on us. Paperback Junkie is in there keeping an eye on us, right? And he said, why doesn't anybody talk about Jules Verne? I just wanted to say that when Steve said that one of his favorite authors is someone that he knew in real life, I totally expect him to drop Jules Verne's name.
I do love 20,000 Leagues Out of the Sea. I think it was such a great book. Very nearly a perfect science romance book.
I have Jules Verne on the list that I brought with me. So, yep.
Oh, to answer your question, Brandy, Steve has.
With Jules Verne, I just always think of him as an adventure writer, not really a science fiction writer.
Right.
And yet, most of the science that's in his books hadn't existed yet when he wrote about it. So that he has that element there. Although I do think it's a little unfair that Becky's the only one with a white snake wind machine going on her hair. It's not really fair. She's the only one who looks like a rock star. The rest of us don't.
But that's just because my hair actually moves. I'm just blocking the wind from Scott. Poor guy.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So I guess next we'll be talking about people who are just beginning with science fiction, like people who are brand new to the genre, or people who have just read a couple of things and would like to move forward with science fiction. We'll have a lot of recommendations here. Hopefully we will. And I know Noah said he got like 15.
Not all beginner books, though. Let me tell you. I just kind of went grabbing stuff.
Well, that's okay. If
I'm not going to make the segue between I just went grabbing stuff and 20 inches under the waist. I'm not going to do it.
I saw that, Steve. Hey,
Although I should point out, since I'm going to be arguing with all of you anyway, that there really isn't any such thing in 2021 as a total newcomer to science fiction, right? Maybe to reading science fiction, but the last 50 movies that grossed more than $900,000 were all science fiction. Science fiction, the highest rated cable shows, the highest rated TV shows, all science fiction. So there's nobody who doesn't know anything about what's this?
Right.
Concentrated beams of light?
Yeah.
What did you call it?
AI? What's AI?
People know the inside and outsides of Tony Stark's arc reactor, so they are familiar with the basics of science fiction.
Okay,
Nice.
So Noah, what are a couple that you would like to discuss a little bit?
Well, just with things that are just where I started, and I think that are really good starts for people, as far as like if sci-fi is just not your bag and you haven't gone for it. My first sci-fi author that I read when I was a kid, and I read everything I could get my hands on, was Michael Crichton. And my favorite is Sphere. It is an alien technology ship. You know, some kind of ship is found on the bottom of the ocean. It has some technology inside of it, and things go crazy. It's a very interesting read. But he wrote, Jurassic Park. Congo was made into a movie. Sphere was made into a movie, actually. I've never seen anything but Jurassic Park. But all of his stuff is kind of science fiction. Andromeda Strain. One of my favorites was Terminal Man. It was one where a guy who has some kind of seizures, and they implant electrodes into his brain to trigger pleasure centers so that he doesn't fall into seizures. Well, he learns subconsciously how to just kind of keep triggering it, and he goes insane. He goes completely nuts. And it's a crazy book, but a lot of Michael Crichton.
That's also the origin story of Paperback Junkie's BookTube channel. An odd coincidence.
So I started with Crichton. It's the lion's share of it is sci-fi. It's going to fall into a sci-fi heading. But one that's a little bit newer, that's a great place to start, is just a fast-paced romp of a novel. It's Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Yeah. This thing is so fun. There you go, Mindy. That's right. I mean, by the end of it, you're just reading as fast as you can to see where this is going. It's so fun and very well done. And then for shorter stuff, of course, the big boy short story writer, most modern, Ted Chiang. I read Stories of Your Life a while back. I don't think I've read every story in it, but I'm doing a read now of Exhalation. They're interesting. Not some of my favorite stuff, but it is a good place to start if you're not, familiar with sci-fi and you want to just see what this kind of thing does. Because his short stories are not necessarily stories with a beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. They're like thought experiments. He might have a great idea and then explore it from different angles, and have a couple different characters explore it, and then he just kind of leaves you there, leaves you to think, and if sci-fi doesn't make you think, then it's not good sci-fi to me. I like sci-fi to throw me out into a place where I can think of ideas, postulate things that I never thought of. And I will say that I'm having a crispy boy in, this is Galactic Space Circus.
Nice.
Sci-fi themed IPA. So I'm sure most people are. I know that Steve has probably read every Michael Crichton multiple times.
I have indeed. I don't disdain him the way critics, readers tell me that I'm supposed to disdain him. I don't disdain him at all. I think he's the direct heir to someone like H.G. Wells.
Sure.
The things that he does. He's not aiming to be high literature. He's just aiming to take an idea and worry it. I like that.
Sphere is a book we're going to have a buddy read of here soon. So.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Okay.
And he routinely goes back to science fiction. The only problem that I have with him as a writer is that when he wrote State of Fear, one of the things that he said was science fiction was drastic climate change. And it isn't. It's real. He just looked at it and thought, well, I don't want to move from my seaside house, so I'm gonna tell my millions of readers that this is just fiction, and that it's being perpetrated on society by a shadowy cabal of people who want you to worry about it, who want to manipulate you, but that it's not real. How many millions of people out there in the reading world thought that catastrophic climate change was fake for years because of that one book?
Sure.
And he had that tendency, in Disclosure. He tells that same reading audience that, I know you might have thought that your female employees were just like you, but they're actually all evil. And the same thing with, what was it, Rising Sun? Which is, intensely...
Rising Sun, yeah.
But when he writes science fiction, like Sphere or Timeline or Jurassic Park, then all that goes out the window and he's just fine.
Yeah, Rising Sun, I read that very, very young, and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
What on earth is this?
What a book.
Who got you mad in an elevator?
I was like, Mom, don't read that book. But another author that I love that is a good place to start, I think, is Larry Niven as well. Destiny's Road. This is a fun story, man. And I
found Larry Niven's one remaining reader.
I liked Destiny's Road. When I'm just thinking about what I read when I was young reader. Larry Niven's Destiny's Road really kind of, the end is so good, and how it kind of ties up. You're just like, yes, it's a great story.
Have you read Harrowit's Children?
I have not.
No, I think Niven is the most dramatically gifted of the hard science fiction writers.
Yes.
Mostly they just think, well, if I get my subatomic particles right, I don't need to be dramatically gifted.
I love The Mote in God's Eye. Yeah. Oh, what a mind blow. First contact story. That's a great first contact story.
Yeah,
a completely well fleshed out alien race that is just complex and everything.
Yeah, I read Ringworld when I was about 15, and I was lost as hell. But I would like to pick it back up now that I'm older. I'm sure I would enjoy it a lot more now.
Nice.
Thank you for that, Matt.
There's good. That's it for some starting stuff, I guess.
Okay. All right.
From me.
Mindy, what you got?
Oh, let's see. Well, I was also going to recommend Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, especially if you are a fan of thrillers. This is like a really great entryway, adding some interesting ideas and into your thriller. So I like that. I love that book.
I need to read that book. I've been meaning to. I've read one Blake Crouch book, and it traumatized me.
I think it was one of his early books.
Yeah,
was it? Yeah.
It was not what I expected it to be at all.
No, it was before Pines. Yeah.
No, it was. I can't remember what it was called.
I can't either.
It's where this group of people all go into this supposedly abandoned mining town.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
I can diplomatically say I have never read a Blake Crouch book that didn't traumatize me. That's the diplomatic way I can put it. So I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I also really like Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. So that's a good book to read. If you read YA fantasy already, then that's a good YA sci-fi. It's very engaging. And yeah.
Is that connected to any of his series?
It's separate. I think it's the Skyward series? There's a book too as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only read some of his fantasy stuff. I haven't read past. I actually haven't read past the the Mistborn trilogy. I've read the Mistborn. You know, the first 3 books of the Mistborn. And I enjoyed them.
Yeah. He's a good author.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think he needs an editor sometimes because his stuff has a tendency to be extremely long.
That's true.
Yeah. But to me that doesn't take away a whole lot from the story he is telling. It just makes it longer.
I do like a chunky fantasy though.
Yeah.
So let's see. For survival stories, I recommend The Martian by Andy Weir.
Yep.
Surviving on Mars, awesome.
Yeah, I had a great time with that book too.
It's just yeah. And there's quite a bit of science in there, but it's done in a way that pretty much anyone, even if you haven't read science fiction, is going to really enjoy that book. And let's see. For space travel stories, which are my favorite, I picked The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers and Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, because I think those are good places to start for really good space travel stories, and they have really interesting alien races.
So
kind of like Dawn.
Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is a book I have been attempting to find either at my library, on Scribd, on sale on Kindle, or somewhere where I can get it at an affordable price. But even the used copies are expensive, and I just haven't had a chance to buy it yet. But that's right at the top of my TBR, and I just haven't had a chance to get it. Unfortunately, because I've been wanting to read that Becky Chambers book. She has 3 in the series now, doesn't she?
She's quite. There might be more than that. I'm not sure.
I think it's 4.
4? Yeah.
Okay.
I've only read 2.
Okay. Did you like them both?
I like the first one better, but yeah, they were both good.
Okay.
They are only slightly related. There's only like a couple of characters from the first book in the second book.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
It was good.
Cool.
I just kind of wanted like more of the whole team together, but it's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I also recommend the first sci-fi book that I ever read, which is Ender's Game.
Yeah.
By Orson Scott Card.
Right.
And this was recommended to me by my husband. And I read it, and I realized sci-fi is something that I love. This is a great book, especially if you like video games, because there's a lot of video games mixed into battle strategy, and it's a coming-of-age story, and it's just wonderful. Wonderful book.
Yeah, I love Ender's Game. I'm reading Speaker for the Dead now, the second book of the series, which I think Orson Scott Card is more proud of Speaker for the Dead than he is Ender's Game in his words. But I don't think it's as successful in that the book never seems to get past the idea stage, or at least the first 3/4 of the book. They don't. Speaker for the Dead never seems to get past that idea stage. Has anybody else read it?
Yeah.
Is that a trick question?
and we're fully immersed in the Has Steve read it challenge. Yeah, man, I've read all of Ender's stuff, and he wrote a series of books from Bean's point of view on the original Ender's Game. So I would totally recommend, if you like Ender's Game, to read Ender's Shadow. That is the Ender's Game story from Bean's point of view. And
the fourth book, isn't it?
No, it's the first book, Ender's Game. but from the point of view of Bean.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
boy that's in the other boy that's in the battle school with him. That's the really smart one.
Yeah, that's like a.
I mean, they're all really smart.
It's like a separate spin-off trilogy, right?
Yeah, but it's almost like a, it's almost the same storyline but a different point of view, and the same time frame because it keeps going
kind of like
with
Rosencrantz
Bean's story.
and Guildenstern are dead.
It's good.
So Steve, which one did you prefer, Ender's Game or Speaker for the Dead?
Ender's Game.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Ender's Game is a book. Speaker for the Dead is a sequel. Speaker for the Dead doesn't work at all if Ender's Game disappears from your mind. If that's not there, then Speaker for the Dead is half a
You
book.
have no idea who Ender Wiggin was. He doesn't really tell.
Yeah, and it's not just the characters and their backstory. It's the whole concept. It's unusual for Card. In the second and third books of a lot of his series, that's not a problem. But in this one, it is, I think, very much so. It's a great sequel, but I don't think that it's really a novel on its own.
Right. Okay. All right, Mindy, you can go ahead and finish your list. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna suggest Ready Player One as a good starting place for sci-fi because it's very approachable, I guess. But I had my issues with it, but it is a fun book, especially if you love 80s nostalgia and video games. And my last one is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, which I love the show. I love the books. It's amazing story with. Oh yeah, I recommend this one for people that love big epic fantasy series. You might like this one with like a crew that works together to save the world type thing.
Yeah, cool. That's another thing that I haven't gotten into reading yet. I have seen some of the first season of the TV show, which is amazing. It's a great TV show. Very well done. But yeah, that's not something I haven't read yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Was that the last one on your list, Mindy, or do you have any more?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, you got some great choices in there. I do have to say, Ready Player One is one of my bottom 3 books of all time that I have ever read, but most people love it, and so maybe I'm just wrong.
He doesn't subscribe to nostalgia.
I don't.
Yes.
I thought Ernest, what was his name? Ernest Cline or Clines. There's a Peter Clines, I think, and an Ernest Cline. They're right, sci-fi. But I thought he was pandering to a lot of people who are nostalgic for the 80s, the early 90s. And I have an issue with being pandered to that hard. So, yeah.
It was incomprehensible to me because it's before I was born.
Oh, that's right.
Something funny, Noah?
That's right. That's right.
Something
How old am I?
was funny just then. I noticed you burst into laughter.
Yeah.
Something
You just-
funny
you just-
happened off stage.
I
You're just
completely
hilarious.
forgot.
You're just hilarious. You just tickle
He was born in
my funny
93.
bone, Steve.
I think Steve's probably the youngest one here.
I love it. Steve's here because we need somebody to be the eye candy. That's for sure.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have.
okay, so let's take our own destiny in our hands and give Steve the floor.
What's
What's
that?
on your list, Steve?
Sorry, I'm dealing off stage here with a colicky editor. Trying to point out to the whole world what you all already know, which that the weekend is a major holiday in Canada and a fairly major holiday in the United States. You shouldn't be at your desk asking me stupid, self-evident questions. You should be at home with your family. They already hate you. Maybe you could change that.
Nah. That ship has sailed.
I know. The I picked four, and I picked four very basic stuff where I'm concentrating more on the author inviting you into the story rather than the science part of science fiction. If anyone's going to put a new reader off science fiction, it's going to be the science part of science fiction. I don't understand what you mean when you say cryostasis, and you never explain it, because the tech jargon you're using is aimed straight at science fiction fans. If I'm not already a science fiction fan, I'm not going to get that because you don't explain it. And so I tried to pick four oldies but goodies that do explain things, even if they do it too much.
Right.
So I'm gonna say Foundation by Asimov.
Yes.
There's nobody better at inviting readers in, not only to science fiction but to reading itself, than Asimov. He's no Tchaikovsky, as the saying goes, but still, I'm gonna pick that, and I'm gonna say that should be the first thing that you read. And then Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, again, writer who's just gonna pull you in.
I almost grabbed it.
The prose isn't great. It's just he's going to pull you in, and he's going to walk you through the science, which is what you want. And then the third one I picked would be The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. Again, it's a self-contained world. It's more science fiction-y, but it's not asking you to know anything about Martian geophysics or about anything like that. And then the last thing I would pick would be better than all the first three put together, and leading you a little bit further towards the kind of what Noah said, that you should be reading science fiction to expand your mind. If it's not doing that, it's bad science fiction. And I would argue that the first three that I named, Childhood's End, Foundation, and The Martian Chronicles, don't. They welcome you in, but they don't expand your mind at all, I would say. So my fourth pick is Alfred Bester, The Demolished Man.
Oh, God,
which does. It does expand your mind just a little. It's look at that! Oh man, how beautiful!
Illustrated. It's great. It's a great edition.
Illustrated by who?
It is. Let's see if I can find the title page here. Illustrations by Vincent Difate. Difate.
A legendary science fiction illustrator. Half the science fiction covers that you know were. Oh
my gosh! Look at that.
It's a legendary science fiction illustrator farming out the work to his preschool daughter. Lovely. Yeah, that's very generous of him. I wonder if she let her keep the profit. Okay. Oh, for the love of Mike. Okay, well, now none of you are going to believe me that he's a legendary science fiction illustrator, but he is. He is. I guarantee you that you have seen his covers, and they are great.
Surely.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think that Childhood's End is, as far as a place to start, is a very mind-expanding book. Just because it leaves you there, though, for you to kind of do that yourself. The end of that is just a great climax that is not an ending. It's open-ended, and so it does what I think he wanted it to do. And I mean, it
came to my mind because it actually, if we're talking about introducing people to science fiction, it actually has done that to more people than any book we're going to mention, because
it's so interesting, so intriguing.
It's in schools.
Nice.
It's either, if you want to name a science fiction book that introduced the sheer highest number of people to the genre, it's either Childhood's End or Flowers for Algernon. It's one of those two, because they're in schools.
Nice. Right.
All right, Andre, what you got?
Well, I kind of went with what kind of got me into sci-fi. So the first two are both known mostly for fantasy. First one is Kilobyte by Piers Anthony. Probably my first example of person get trapped into a video game. Very Tron-like. It's just one of those, if you die in the game, you die for real kind of things, and it's got his humor to it, which
I have not read that.
I've read
yeah, it's not as excessive as like the Xant series, but it's more restrained Anthony, which is his better stuff. And the other one that's similar
Word to advance here.
is Dinosaur Planet by Anne McCaffrey. I was obsessed with that book. I actually liked it much better than any of her Pern series, but it's just interesting to see a group of aliens coming to a prehistoric planet and then just scoffing at the dangers. We've seen a lot of them where you come to a planet that's Jurassic and then we're the victims and everything, but these aliens that come are just so overpowered that it's like think it's a joke, and they have their own drama and everything's just kind of like a backdrop. So I think those are really good if you're like into fantasy. Kind of going in the other vein, I also thought All You Need Is Kill, which is, I can't pronounce, Hiroshi Zaka, I think is his name. It's a time travel futuristic war one that they eventually made into the weird movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. But the book is much more interesting, much better, much more cerebral in trying to figure out what's going on, why. That's a really good one. I really think Face of Another by Koba Abe is really good. It's got there's surgery where you can basically change the whole body, basically change your whole look and size and voice of somebody, and how that basically changes that person's mental state and everything they believe in, because they can just be a different person.
Coincidentally enough, also the origin story of Paperback Junkie's YouTube channel.
Get him!
What was the name of that one, Andre?
A Face of Another.
Kobo Abe.
Yeah.
That's good.
I just think that's really one of those classic tropes that's similar to Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, that just kind of goes into what doing something, experimenting on someone will do to someone's psyche, which is Terminal Man's another one of similar ilk. I think that's, and then the last one I have is more just a fun romp, which is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. It's got a little bit of everything for everybody. So that's kind of what I got.
Yeah, that's another one I'm trying to get from my library. It's the first book of the Murderbot Diaries, but it has like a 10-week wait list.
Nice.
Because it's so popular right now, the Martha Wells books. She's written quite a few fantasy novels as well, but it seems to be all about the Murderbot Diaries these days.
Well, she bought the rights back for her fantasy books, so they're kind of hard to get a hold of.
Okay. Our library has, I guess, the ones that were before, and I need to, on our Libby app has it. Our library is not good.
Talk about an author who's going to be entirely overshadowed by one creation, by one series. It's going to be Martha Wells. She's going to be overshadowed all the way to the bank, so I don't feel sorry for her. But if Murderbot is overshadowing her whole creative career now, imagine what it's going to be when Murderbot is adapted for the big screen.
Yeah.
Especially if the rumors that I've heard are right, and the Murderbot Diaries, the movie, is going to star a robot. Everything, all about it, augmented. So the robot will be the star, and the voice will not be Liam Neeson.
Oh.
No, the voice will also be the robot. Well, there won't be a human star. All the talk is that is the project for Murderbot Diaries.
Wow.
To make Murderbot the star of the show without having, Dame Judi Dench be the voice of Murderbot, without having anything like that. And if that happens and it works, good Lord. Martha Wells will be writing Murderbot until she's 100.
Right.
She got Terry Brooks. Yeah.
What was that again?
Be writing Shannara until he dies.
Yeah. Yep. Well, no, he actually stopped writing Shannara. His last one, he says, is his very last one. We'll see. But he is getting up there in years, so it very well might be. I don't know. But you want to go with yours?
Yeah. Okay. So we all know that sci-fi is not my favorite, but I picked a lot of baby sci-fi books. A couple that aren't. So of course I have Ender's Game on my list. because that was actually, it was the first sci-fi book I ever read, and the first time I realized sci-fi might not be so bad.
And Mindy, that's my favorite cover for Ender's Game. I think that's the best cover they had. Was that one that they started?
Even with the $4 rebate sticker on it.
Yeah, I think that cover started in the late '80s or something. It wasn't the first cover, I don't believe, but it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, and then again, mirroring Mindy's list, I had The Martian by Andy Weir, but I also have Artemis and Project Hail Mary. So I basically have Andy Weir's entire book list. Yeah, I loved Project Hail Mary. I thought it was loads of fun. Then the next one I have is I'm going to call it cozy sci-fi. It's a book called Parasite by Darcy Coates.
Oh yeah, I like that one too.
Australian author. And as a general rule, she writes like haunted house books and things like that. But this is straight up sci-fi, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's a sort of a series of short stories that sort of converge around the same storyline, which I really enjoy. It's a lot of fun, and very accessible.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't want to use that word anymore. Next on my list is pretty much most of the Star Trek novels out there. There's a great book called Tears of the Singers that I absolutely adore. It sort of revolves around Uhura. But the thing about the Star Trek novels is if you have any experience with the TV shows, you already have a good idea of how the world works. So it's rather easy to follow the science fiction there, if you understand what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And Star Trek has lots of fantasy elements as well, like a lot of your epic fantasy elements. But of course, it's going to.
But the last one that I have on my list is by Hugh Howey. It's, where are we? Come on, you. There we go. It's the Wool series. It's the Silo series by Hugh Howey. Wool is an amazing book.
Nice.
I absolutely love the book. It's kind of like it's dystopian. It's sort of post-apocalyptic. If you ever saw saw the movie or read the book City of Ember, it's kind of like a more adult version of that. And I enjoyed it. I think it was quality sci-fi, but that's
cool.
My opinion, because I wouldn't know.
Our hosts have left the building.
It's only a matter of time.
That's great. Now that's really great.
Let's talk about them behind their backs.
So those Bryants, you know?
Those Bryants, I swear. Talk about dystopian.
Right?
Oh,
this
no.
chat is an apocalyptic.
There we go.
Welcome back, Bryants. We were just
totally not talking about you.
No, hoping you would get it together, you know.
We were mainly talking about the current state of affairs in Kazakhstan.
Yeah. It went out, and Becky said, "Oh shit." So I don't know if anybody heard it or not, but
well, now they know.
That doesn't sound like Becky.
No,
It doesn't sound like something she'd say.
It's totally not me. I don't know what you're talking about. Did you guys hear anything of what I said, or was I just sort of talking at an empty room?
I've had you muted for an hour. My standard policy with the Turkish Bryants.
I love you, Steve.
I didn't even know your channel had volume.
okay.
Yeah, Steve watches the Bookish Bryants for the visuals, you know. as we all do.
Why do you think I had the White Snake fan?
Right, just the flowing. I love it.
Okay.
All
You
right,
you
yep.
want to go?
I'll get going.
Please go.
I'm going to start it off. I'm going to start off with a bit of a surprise because it was the book that made me fall in love with science fiction, and that's Dune. If you already read epic fantasy, epic anything, epic epic historical books, then Dune shouldn't be anything to read for you. I mean, it's not one. Yeah, there you go. Because once it gets past 60, 80 pages, it turns into an amazing story. But I think those 60 to 80 pages are necessary. But everybody that I've known, just about, that have not finished Dune, have stopped after right about 80 pages. They say, I can't go on. I can't do this. It's too boring. And then once they get into it, they start to fall in love with it. Just
You're
like
nominating Dune for an intro to science fiction?
yes,
I love Dune.
So do I.
Because it was.
So do I. But the whole point of this was beginners to science fiction. You love Dune. You've read all the Dune books. What is Cold in Space? You don't have any idea. Neither do I. You're gonna force this on beginners to science
It's because of the spice, Steve.
That's Noah's answer to everything. He was pulled over by a highway policeman last week.
Psychotropic drugs, Steve.
Sir, you know how fast you're going? It's because of the spice, dude.
Jeez. It's spelled out right there, plain as day.
No.
I love it.
And the reason being is because if you grasp that book, and you love that book, I think you're going to fall in love with science fiction.
Well, yes, but
I knew at least one person wouldn't
Brian,
like my pick.
Scott, you got to just keep on going. We're going to bring Steve in a minute.
I love the book, but
Just keep on going, buddy.
Just accept it. Move on.
I love this.
I did Ender's Game
Dude.
as well because that.
Steve's laughing. I found BookTube by finding Steve's read through of the Dune series, the original Frank Herbert Six Dune series, and everybody that was associated with that read through. That's when I found this corner of BookTube.
But
That's cool.
that was because of me.
It was because
I am.
you're right about that.
Well, your ordinary
You're
preschool
speaking truth, Benny.
leader in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, isn't going to have me leading him by the hand.
Well, it
through the
definitely
book.
wasn't Lukash over there.
No, oh God. Let's talk about xenomorphs. Let's even talk about him.
All right, let's do second choice real quick.
Yeah, my Ender's Game was my next choice, and another
Oh
consecutive.
God!
But
Has
another-
anybody read Ender's Shadow?
I haven't.
Has anybody else read Ender's Shadow? The
Oh God.
I have it. but I
what
haven't
did you
read it.
think of it, Steve?
You know the note that Orson Scott Card leaves on the cheese in his refrigerator saying, "Please don't touch." I read that.
Did you like what he did with the Ender's Shadow and to go through it again and show that?
I love the concept. Absolutely love the concept.
Yeah.
I have been saying for 50 years that although people make fun of the concept, I would love to read Sauron's version of Lord of the Rings.
Right.
I'd love to read that.
Right.
Or even better, Saruman. I would
Sure.
love to read that story. But it's got to work. And
Yeah.
it's like I was saying about, just about the straight up Ender sequels. I don't think they work as books.
Right.
I don't think that if you had no idea that the original existed, I don't think you'd be able to make head or tail.
No. But I don't think he was trying for that either.
No,
I mean,
no.
it's for people who love.
Right. Right.
You know,
It's just the critic in me. It
Yeah.
says, if you're gonna lay on the couch like that, somebody should call you on it.
Right.
Unlike, for instance, Michael Crichton, I've been a serious critic of him and the damage that he has done, the pure way that he channeled all the worst elements of 1980s America. But I was still a champion of his books because for decades I was saying, well, at least he has the strength of will not to write a sequel. And then he wrote a sequel.
Right. And then The Lost World.
Yeah, although I thought The
It's
Lost World
coming.
was very good. I liked it a lot. But
Yeah.
still, I wish that he hadn't done it.
All right. Next.
Blood Music by Greg Bear. I don't know if anybody else. If you're a
Greg Bear, that's fantastic.
yeah, Blood Music, I do really enjoy. It's one of his shorter novels. Greg Bear can write some chunkers. He wrote Eon and a bunch of Darwin's Radio and a bunch of other books that a lot of people love. But the one I enjoyed the most was Blood Music. Very interesting. Then I got the Martian Chronicles. But the book I have I knew somebody would have Foundation, so I thought I would bring a different Isaac Asimov, and that's The Caves of Steel. One of his noirish sort of mystery type sci-fi books that I really enjoyed, and I actually enjoyed that probably not as much as I did the Foundation books, but I did enjoy The Caves of Steel. I thought it was one of Asimov's better books. Noah, have you read that one?
Which one?
The Caves of Steel.
I have not.
Oh, okay. That's a very good Asimov book.
Nice.
The mystery elements are pure Isaac Asimov. Whenever he does mystery elements in a book, even if it's an actual mystery novel, it's pure Isaac Asimov, the way he does it. He'll be 50 pages in, and he'll be sort of elbowing you, saying, "Oh, wait till you see the big twist I've got coming." And all the readers at page 50 are saying, "Isaac, we guessed it 10 pages ago. You're not very good at this. We're here because we like reading you. But please, do you have to be so impressed with your dazzling plot twist that everybody guessed on page 20?"
Yeah, the first chapter is telling you about the setting. The next two chapters are people talking about the setting. And then finally he gets to the story.
That's one of the reasons that I recommended him, though, because that's a very comfortable way to write.
Okay.
I've lost count of how many teenage boys I've known that had reading as an adult demystified by Isaac Asimov. Oh, gosh. Are you looking at the comments here?
Yeah.
But next for me, I love Way Station by Clifford D. Seamack.
Oh.
That was a book.
First Greg Bear, and now Cliff Seamack. Good Lord.
Yeah, I love Clifford Seamack. I think Way Station it's one of my favorite sci-fi books because it's one of the few sci-fi books I've read with that type of sense of humor. I mean, the sense of humor in that book is so dry, but so fun, and I had a great time with Way Station. And I don't know that many people anymore who read Seamack at all. Quite a bit of his stuff is still in print, but I don't know of anybody that reads it anymore. I know Sean Stamfast reads it. I've seen some of it on his channel.
Nice.
But
we just had a suggestion in the comments about the Stainless Steel Rat series. Good Lord, talking about books nobody reads anymore.
Well, I had read it when I was really, really young, and it took me so many years kind of searching my memory, trying to remember what that book was. I could just remember the cover and liking it and that kind of thing and the story, but I didn't know the title and the author because I was so I just didn't put it in my memory when I had read it. So I had just recently found the actual edition, the hardcover, like the library edition that I read when I was young. And right when I saw the cover, I was like, "That's it! It's the Stainless Steel Rat." And
you didn't encounter them in paperback?
I had got it from the library. I had read it from the library. So it's the cover where the stainless steel rat's coming out of an egg, And right when I saw it, I was like, "That's it. That's the book." And I grabbed it, and it's just like it's one of my, a book that I just love to own because I have so much nice memories of that story.
Harrison's great.
Yeah.
He writes good stuff.
I've got the first 5 stainless steel rat books, I think. Again,
Nice.
That's one of them that I got to get into. I haven't read those, but then the next one is The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester, which Steve already brought up. Love that book. I also like. What is his other really famous one? Alfred Bester.
Stars My Destination.
Yeah, Stars My Destination. I have that in the SF Masterworks. In the SF Masterwork edition. Then the Jules Verne book that I have on here is From the Earth to the Moon. Isn't that an extremely early Jules Verne? I enjoyed From the Earth.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Huh?
Why are you all looking at me? I didn't go to school with Jules Verne, I promise.
But yeah, I do enjoy From the Earth to the Moon. I just read it a few years ago. It's a shorter work by him, but I really enjoyed that. And I had the Caves of Steel on here twice. But yeah, and for people that are just getting into it, for people who are just getting into sci-fi, those are my. Oh, cool.
That's it. I went and grabbed it.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that is nice. Is that a hardcover?
Yeah.
Nice.
I automatically think of the paperbacks. The first trilogy of the paperbacks had covers with 1960s ROTC haircuts. And then the second trilogy, when they reprinted it, all of a sudden the action hero had 1980s feathered hairdo.
It's an 85. 85 is when it came out, right? Very cool.
85? Okay. But I also had Childhood's End on here, which nothing's been said about too. And I would even throw in Rendezvous with Rama. And the reason I would throw in Rendezvous with Rama is if you pay any attention to the news, something from that book actually happened a few years ago, where I think it was the U.S. landed they had a lander that ended up on an asteroid, moving at like 40,000 miles an hour. They ended up landing
a vehicle.
Yeah, landing a vehicle of some sort on an asteroid, just like they did in Rendezvous with Rama. But Clark, the reason I
almost grabbed that one as well.
Yeah, the reason I say Clark is my favorite sci-fi writer is because I think more of his, more of his prophecies have come true probably than any other sci-fi writer. He really did think about the science while he was writing. So that's probably the reason he's my favorite Argosy Clark. He gives me more a sense of wonder than a lot of science fiction writers do.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for my list.
Very
That's what
cool.
I got. Oh, and I wanted to show this. I know, Noah, have you read this one, or has anybody else read this one? Andre? This is David
Earth
Brin.
Plan.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Science Fiction Book Club. The Science Fiction Book Club of some of the uplift novels of David Brin.
Nice. I have not.
I thought I was buying this as two. I thought I was buying this as 2 separate paperbacks from eBay, and it came in as this, and I was excited about it. But I haven't gotten into this yet. But this is
But again,
very soon.
You can't talk about Startide Rising as an entry point for science fiction. I would say any more than you can say that about Dune. You just can't.
You can talk about anything you want as an entry point.
Anything you want, yes, you can.
and be wrong. Right, Steve?
I love Startide Rising. If this were a different discussion, it would be one of the first books that I mentioned, but to hand it to somebody who's never read science fiction before, I don't know, maybe they make those kinds of readers different than they used to. The last thing you want when you hand somebody a science fiction novel is for them to think that it's a closed club. the last thing you want is for them to think, well, I would like this better if I had had more science in school.
Right. Well, that's why Asimov is perfect. I mean,
Yeah. You don't ever get that feeling. Asimov
Right.
was,
That's why Asimov is always a perfect suggestion for somebody who doesn't.
Yeah, just a teacher, right to his bone.
Right.
And imagine how much poorer the world would be if he'd just been a teacher and not written anything. See, we're lucky that he decided to channel that into writing books.
I think Clark is right there too. No matter how deep he gets into the science, it's really pretty easy to know what he's talking about. So
That's a really, really, really good point, Mark.
what's that?
It's good storytelling.
Because people don't always enter the genre as unsophisticated readers. The fact that they're just now approaching sci-fi doesn't mean they're not accomplished readers.
Oh,
And
sure.
and I would be amiss.
People, even though they're just now approaching sci-fi, it's perfectly up to.
But genres have their vocabulary, right? Genres have their languages. You can be a sophisticated reader and still not know those languages, and not knowing them can put you off. I would make the same case about, think of your favorite Western novel, or a really in-depth work, a really great work of military fiction, or even, in my own case, a Regency romance. If you don't know the vocabulary, then it won't matter how sophisticated a reader you are, you could still be put off. That's what I was going for my, what's going on here?
Someone coming in.
A new.
Whoa.
Yes, quadruple Bryants.
No, wasn't too bad enough.
Yes.
Come on, help me.
My God.
For one horrifying moment, I thought it was going to be Rikash.
Bryants are taking over.
Bryants are taking over.
It's so sci-fi.
Yeah, see,
So for real, we've done a lot of suggestions. It's been over an hour, and nobody has mentioned Robert Silverberg. Seriously, right now?
Yeah. Well, I know.
Steve,
I just read The Son of Man.
you didn't think to throw.
I thought for a minute to throw in "Dying Inside" by Robert Silverberg, because the science fiction elements are very minimal, because the storytelling is very predominant, because I thought we were talking about entry point science fiction. No, I would not nominate most of Robert Silverberg.
What we're talking about is our favorites.
I guess.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I love Thorns.
Not for any beginner.
I love Thorns too. I'm not knocking Robert Silverberg.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, if anybody didn't know, Becky and I live in the butthole of the country, and that's why we keep getting kicked off.
Well, we live in a black hole. The internet connection is spotty at best.
Yeah.
That's my adopted state you're talking about, you know.
Yeah, but
Come on down, Steve.
Oh, please. I don't have to visit. Do I? I phone in my work.
You're a little northeast of the direct center where we are. So,
But I am a Georgia editor, and all Georgia citizens are therefore my little chicks in the yard.
That's right.
yeah, but I'll tell you, Steve, where that newspaper is located is beautiful. That is a beautiful part of the country right there.
Well, there's so much of Georgia that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, such a beautiful state.
Yeah, we can drive 3 miles and be driving up a mountain. So
If only the people were as beautiful.
Well, that's not fair either. I've never met a Georgian I didn't like. It's the politicians that are a little bit on the nutty side.
A little bit.
Politicians aren't real people. Talk about science fiction.
I should invite him to some. I should introduce him to some of my family.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. No. That's not.
I've been up in some back roads in Georgia, some places so far away from pavement. Don't tell me, let me guess. A perfect entry-level book for science fiction.
Have you read this, Steve? Have you read that book? Jesus. I love you guys. This was really fun. I'm gonna have to bust though. I don't have all the time.
I'm gonna have to go too. This thing that I'm doing with this editor. Why are editors, aside from me, so dumb? Why are they so dumb? This is the whole time that I've been talking, I've been thinking, okay, is this going to reach the point where I need 10 fingers on a keyboard? Is it going to get that bad on the night before the 4th of July? Is it going to get that bad?
Maybe.
It'll never happen with me. In fact, one of the things I'm going to be doing in this long weekend on Monday, I'm going to be plotting out my next issue of Big Canoe News.
Very cool.
It will be dropping on Georgian doorsteps on the 2nd or 3rd of September.
Very cool.
My August issue.
Well, I got a long weekend as well ahead of me, so I'll have some time. I'm gonna see if I can hunt that out, and if not, then I'll just.
Big Canoe News. Good luck finding it. Once I have a few more months under my belt, I will talk to my editor-in-chief about getting this thing distributed properly.
Well, I was up in Johns Creek, which is not far, from Big Canoe, and but I didn't have any time to stop in some bookstores when I was there. That's what I got to do, is hit the bookstores and see.
I don't even know how well we're distributed in bookstores.
Yeah.
The key that I need to be a regular thing, so that the editorial team knows that I'm not a fly-by-night, so they get to know me. So that maybe reader response is good. But in addition to that, I need my book section to win a couple of awards. And once that happens, I will be in a position to say, why are we bothering to make a Georgia newspaper that isn't distributed in Atlanta?
Sure.
Why are we bothering to do that? 60% of the people in the state live in Atlanta. And we're not distributed in Atlanta. That's crazy.
Right.
Well,
I have a feeling that their answer would be because we're not good enough. And that is wrong. That is just wrong.
Sure.
Your book section is much better than even the Atlanta Journal-Constitution book
Oh,
section.
yes. Oh, yes.
There isn't much
broader
there.
range, more lively prose. Absolutely. No, it's the best book section in Georgia. And all I need is somebody other than me to say that. I need the American Journalists Association to say that. And that's not going to happen overnight. I'm only on my 5th issue here, so. But it's going to be a great August issue. You will enjoy it.
Good. Y'all are so good. I swear.
We should have it very soon. It's probably been shipped.
Okay, so we've been going for about an hour and 22 minutes. I think it's about time to wrap it up before our internet just gives up.
Next time, let's do favorites, so that we don't have any cross.
No, now that we've done all intro, now we can go to advanced, and people that are seasoned readers and give our real suggestions.
TV shows, cable shows, movies.
Next episode.
Oh my God.
That's right, Steve. We're going there, baby.
I didn't think you could get any more quintessentially Noah without talking about Philip K. Dick, but you found Olaf Stapleton. So
I love Olaf Stapleton.
The only thing left for you is the Straczynski brothers, and I'm sure you're that close.
I'm on the edge.
Someday I'm going to figure you out as a reader. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but someday I'm going to.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bryant.
Next time we'll do this, we'll have some of the same people. Maybe we might even have a full group next time. We'll see. But yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Later, y'all.
Good evening, everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming. Bye.